So this is the famous Western Wall. You can see the huge 3 trilithons. They're not this level, these are the 400-ton stones. So one's above, 3 of those 800 plus tons each. They came from the same quarry of nearby as a stone of the pregnant woman.
This wall was never supposed to exist. 3 stones, 800 tons each.
Each of these stones weigh in at a whopping 800 metric tons, which equates to nearly 900 imperial tons apiece.
Suspended 6 meters above the ground and joined with a precision that mocks modern engineering. For 2,000 years, they've stood in silence. No records, no tools, no explanation. And when artificial intelligence finally examined them, it didn't solve the mystery. It exposed a far more unsettling question. How did the ancient world achieve something we still can't? 800-ton mystery. In the Bekaa Valley of eastern Lebanon, there is a place that has defied explanation since Roman times. When you stand before the western retaining wall of the Temple of Jupiter at Baalbek, you are looking at the largest worked stones ever successfully moved and placed by human hands. Not the largest stones that exist, are the largest stones that were actually transported and erected.
And there's no evidence the Romans did that. That's why it's often said that giants did it. There's also some traditions that say demons did it.
3 limestone blocks, positioned side by side, forming what archaeologists call the Trilithon. Each one measures approximately 19 meters long, over 4 meters high, and 3.5 meters thick. When Austrian survey teams measured them precisely in 1996, they documented exact dimensions down to the centimeter. Stone 1, 19.6 meters. Stone 2, 19.3 meters. Stone 3, 19.1 meters.
It's the Forgotten Stone. It measures 19.6 meters long, or 64 feet. It is 6 meters, or just shy of 20 feet wide, and get this, it is 5.5 meters, or 18 feet tall.
Perfect rectangular blocks with identical height and thickness throughout, carved from a quarry 900 meters away and somehow transported across uneven terrain to this exact spot. Let me put these numbers into perspective because the human brain struggles to comprehend this scale. The largest stones in the Great Pyramid of Giza weigh 70 to 80 tons. And the Trilithon stones are 10 times heavier.
These stones are literally 10 times the weight of the 80-ton granite stones that were lifted into the Great Pyramid of Giza, which in itself is a profound mystery.
The massive stones in Jerusalem's Western Wall, which demonstrate similar architectural ambitions, weigh up to 630 tons, still lighter than a single Trilithon block. Those famous T-shaped pillars at Göbekli Tepe that we marvel at? They weigh 7 to 10 tons each. Compared to the Trilithon, they are children's building blocks. Combined, we are looking at approximately 2,400 tons of carved limestone, positioned perfectly level, elevated 2 stories above the ground, fitted together with tolerances that challenge modern construction capabilities. The breakthrough came when researchers deployed technology that our ancestors could never have imagined. High-resolution LiDAR systems mapped every surface. 3-dimensional photogrammetry captured details invisible to the naked eye, and ground-penetrating radar probed beneath the ancient stones. And then something unprecedented happened. Artificial intelligence began analyzing the data, running pattern recognition algorithms across millions of data points, looking for answers that human researchers had missed for centuries. What the computer vision systems detected changed everything we thought we understood about this site. The AI measured the flatness of these massive surfaces and found deviations of less than 1 millimeter across spans of 19 meters. Think about that for a moment. Modern construction aims for tolerances of 5 millimeters for large-scale stonework. The Romans achieved 5 times better precision 2,000 years ago, working with nothing but bronze tools and human muscle.
Which is by far the most commonly accepted theory, which involves the use of capstans and ropes to slowly pull and drag the stone blocks.
But the interfaces between the stones revealed something even more remarkable. The surface mapping detected gaps between blocks measuring less than half a millimeter in most locations. In some places, the stones fit so perfectly that the AI could not detect any gap at all. Computer models calculated that this level of precision in fitting blocks weighing 800 tons requires not just careful carving, but the ability to make micro-adjustments during placement. You need to shift 800 tons by millimeters, multiple times, until the fit is perfect. And here is where the data becomes genuinely disturbing. When neural networks mapped the contact surfaces between the Trilithon stones, they detected wear patterns that do not match any known placement technique. The stones show evidence of having been shifted laterally, moved side to side by tiny increments, multiple times during positioning. To shift an 800-ton stone sideways by even 1 millimeter requires overcoming static friction. The AI calculated the force required, approximately 400 tons of lateral pressure.
And below me further with the ledge are the 400-ton stones. So these are extremely ancient, some of the largest moved stones on the planet.
That is equivalent to the combined pulling power of 200 draft horses, or 800 men, all pulling perpendicular to the stone's length, coordinated perfectly, making adjustments measured in millimeters. And the wear patterns suggest they did this multiple times per stone. Not positioning it once, but adjusting, checking, adjusting again, until the fit was absolutely perfect. Then the AI turned its analysis to something that should have been obvious, something that, once you see it, you cannot unsee. In Roman engineering, when you move massive stones, you leave marks. So Lewis holes are dovetail-shaped cavities carved into the top surface where iron pins can be inserted for lifting. Forceps holes are slots on the sides where giant tongs can grip. Rope grooves are channels carved into edges where cables can be secured without slipping. These marks appear on virtually every large Roman stone across their entire empire.
And you can see, as Brian Hayes has just pointed out, there's like circular saw marks here, like where they've been swinging saws around.
The AI scanned every accessible surface of the Trilithon stones, every millimeter, every edge, every interface. It found nothing. No Lewis holes, no forceps marks, no rope grooves. The stones show absolutely no evidence of the standard Roman lifting technology that was used everywhere else in their construction projects. This absence is terrifying because it means one of two things. Either the attachment points are on surfaces we cannot see, buried deep within the wall structure, or they used a completely different method, a method that left no trace whatsoever. A method that has been lost to history so completely that we cannot even identify the evidence of its existence. The breaking point. 900 meters from the temple complex, on a hill called Sheikh Abdallah, lies the ancient limestone quarry where the Trilithon stones were extracted. This is where the mystery deepens into something genuinely unsettling. When the AI survey examined this location using the same high-resolution scanning technology deployed at the temple, what it revealed sent shockwaves through the engineering community. There are 3 massive stones still there, not moved, not transported, just sitting in the quarry abandoned over 2,000 years ago, frozen in time like monuments to an ambition that exceeded even the Romans' extraordinary capabilities. The first abandoned giant is called the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, Hajar al-Hibla in Arabic. Local legend says a pregnant woman convinced the ancient builders to carve it, promising it would give them supernatural strength. The reality is less mystical but far more impressive. It measures nearly 21 meters long, 4 meters high, and over 4 meters thick. Estimated weight, 1,000 tons. That is 200 tons heavier than any stone they successfully moved.
They were able to successfully, whoever they were successful at moving 3 1,000-ton stones, as well as multiple weighing in at 800 tons.
3 of its 4 sides show evidence of careful smoothing and meticulous preparation for transport. The quarry workers spent months, perhaps years, carving this behemoth from the living rock. They cut channels around its perimeter. They undercut its base. Like they prepared everything for the moment when it would be lifted free and begin its journey to the temple. But that moment never came. It was never moved. Something stopped them. The second stone, called the Stone of the South, was rediscovered in the 1990s after being forgotten for centuries, buried beneath accumulated debris and overgrown vegetation. When archaeologists cleared the site and measured it, they found something even larger. It weighs approximately 1,242 tons. That is over 400 tons heavier than the Trilithon stones they successfully transported. Like its companion, this stone shows clear evidence of extraction work. The ancient quarry workers had invested enormous effort into freeing it from the bedrock. And like its companion, it sits there still, untouched for 2 millennia. A silent testament to the boundary between possible and impossible. But the third stone is the one that changes everything we thought we understood about ancient engineering ambitions. In 2014, a German archaeological team from the German Archaeological Institute was conducting routine excavations beneath the stone of the pregnant woman when their tools struck something unexpected, another stone. Larger. Much larger. It had been buried under centuries of accumulated soil and forgotten for millennia, hidden from human eyes since the Roman Empire fell. They called it the Forgotten Stone, and when they fully excavated and measured it, the dimensions were staggering: 19.6 meters long, 6 meters high, and 5.5 meters thick. The AI calculated its weight using precise volumetric analysis and density measurements of the local limestone. 1,650 tons.
This is the one below it, just down here, which is 1,650 tons. This is absolutely huge. So this is the largest cut stone block in the entire planet.
Let that number sink in. That is heavier than 4 fully loaded Boeing 747 aircraft combined. It is officially recognized by Guinness World Records as the largest ancient megalith ever discovered anywhere on Earth. And it is still sitting in that quarry, exactly where Roman workers abandoned it over 2,000 years ago. Here is what makes this discovery so profoundly disturbing. The builders of the Trilithon successfully moved 3 800-ton stones across 900 meters of uneven terrain, lifted them 6 meters into the air, and positioned them with millimeter precision. They accomplished the impossible, but they abandoned 3 even larger stones in the quarry. And this tells us something critical about their capabilities. They reached their limit. They found the absolute maximum of what was physically possible with their technology, their workforce, their methods. That maximum was somewhere between 800 tons, which they achieved through extraordinary effort, and 1,000 tons, which proved impossible even for the most skilled engineers the ancient world ever produced. But this revelation raises the question that keeps modern engineers awake at night. What exactly was that technology? How did they move 800 tons when we struggle to explain it, even with modern physics and computer modeling? And why, after pushing to the very edge of possibility, did they attempt to go even further? Beyond Roman physics. The AI ran thousands of transport simulations using every known ancient technique. And the quarry sits at approximately the same elevation as the temple, about 1,140 meters above sea level. This is actually advantageous because it means the stones did not need to be moved uphill, only along a relatively level path. The AI modeled transport using wooden sledges pulled over wooden rollers. It calculated that between 500 and 1,000 workers pulling simultaneously would be needed to overcome friction and inertia. The math works, barely.
They will keep pillars from the bedrock itself to prevent the ceiling from falling on the workers. And at the same time, they will create a big space that works later as a temple or as a place for the workers to live.
Historical calculations suggest that capstan machines operated by teams of workers could theoretically generate enough force. But here is where theory meets the brutal reality of experimental archaeology. Modern experiments have shown that wooden rollers are extremely impractical under extreme weight. They crush. They roll unpredictably. Contemporary megalith-moving societies do not use loose rollers at all. They use logs as fixed sleepers with sledges pulled over static timber tracks. This method works, but it is agonizingly slow. Experiments moving 1-ton stones achieved speeds of about 1.6 kilometers per hour. Extrapolating to 800 tons, the AI calculated transport time from quarry to temple. Best case scenario, several weeks of continuous effort with perfect conditions and no problems. More realistic estimate, several months per stone. That is not impossible. The Romans had time, labor, and motivation. The Temple of Jupiter construction spanned 2 centuries. Moving 3 stones over several months each is achievable. But that is just transport. The truly impossible part is what comes next. The Trilithon stone sits 6 meters above ground level. 6 meters is approximately 2 stories high. How do you lift 800 tons 2 stories into the air using only ropes, wooden levers, and human muscle? The AI tested every historical lifting method documented in Roman engineering texts. It found them all inadequate. Roman treadwheel cranes, the largest documented lifting devices in their technological arsenal, could lift 6 to 10 tons with 2 workers inside the wheel. Even using multiple coordinated cranes, the maximum documented capacity was around 100 tons. The Trilithon stones are 8 times beyond their maximum capability. You would need dozens of cranes working in perfect synchronization, all positioned around the stone, all lifting simultaneously with exact coordination. But there is no archaeological evidence of foundations strong enough to support that many cranes at this location. And the alternative is earthen ramps. Build a massive ramp of soil and rubble extending to the height where the stone needs to be placed, then slide or roll the stone up into position. The AI calculated the volume of material needed for such a ramp, millions of cubic meters of soil, far more material than exists in all the excavated areas around Baalbek combined. And you would need to build 3 separate ramps, 1 for each stone, then remove all that material afterward, leaving no trace. The physics works in theory. The archaeological evidence does not support it. The AI structural analysis revealed something else that demands attention. These stones are not just heavy, they are precisely engineered for their exact position. Each stone was custom carved to account for the specific forces it would bear. On the bottom surfaces are perfectly flat to distribute weight evenly. The top surfaces are precisely level to support the courses above. The end surfaces are shaped to interlock with adjacent blocks. This level of engineering requires advanced planning. You need to know exactly where each stone will go before you carve it. You need to calculate load distributions, account for settling, and design for earthquake resistance. The Bekaa Valley is seismically active. Several major earthquakes have struck the region over 2 millennia. Yet the Trilithon remains perfectly positioned. The stones are locked in place by their own weight and by the surrounding masonry. They cannot shift. They cannot fall. They have been there for 2,000 years, and they will remain there until someone deliberately dismantles them. On the AI's pattern recognition algorithms examined the quarry itself, analyzing tool marks and extraction evidence. What it found contradicts the popular narrative that Baalbek represents lost ancient technology or intervention from some unknown civilization. The tool marks are conventional.
One site on Earth that was actual tangible evidence of a mysteriously lost ancient advanced civilization that existed in our prehistoric past. The enigmatic site of Baalbek, Lebanon is arguably the most profound example above all else.
The AI compared them to documented Roman quarrying techniques from other sites across the empire and found perfect matches. There are square and round holes consistent with wedge and liver use. There are channels showing where blocks were undercut and separated from bedrock. The extraction technique is well understood. Cut vertical channels around the perimeter of the desired block. Undercut beneath, insert wooden wedges along the base. Wet the wedges so they expand, and the expansion pressure fractures the stone along prepared lines. But the AI detected something that human observers had missed for decades. Using multispectral imaging and pattern recognition, the neural networks identified faint markings on the forgotten stone's surface. Not natural weathering, not modern graffiti, ancient marks. Intentional symbols carved into this 1,650-ton megalith before it was abandoned. Someone spent months, perhaps years, extracting this stone. They carved it to precise dimensions. They smoothed one entire side perfectly flat. They prepared everything for transport. And then they realized it was too heavy. The project was impossible. So what did they do before walking away? They carved symbols into it, marks that would last thousands of years. What were those symbols? A dedication, a warning, a record of their failed attempt? We do not know. The AI flagged their location but could not interpret their meaning. No one has studied them in detail because until the AI scan, no one knew they were there. The AI's chronological analysis of the quarry revealed something chilling. Work stopped abruptly. Not a gradual wind down, an abrupt cessation. Tools left in place, stones abandoned mid-extraction. The entire operation shut down as if everyone simply walked away one day and never returned. What could cause that? War? Economic collapse? Epidemic? We do not know. No builder's mark. Nothing identifying who was responsible for this impossible achievement. It is as if whoever did it wanted to remain anonymous, or was forced to remain anonymous, or the credit was deliberately erased from history. When the AI extended its analysis beyond Baalbek, using satellite imagery and comparative architectural analysis, it identified similar megalithic construction techniques at other sites around the Mediterranean and Near East. The Western Wall in Jerusalem uses stones up to 630 tons with identical drafted margin techniques. Temples in Egypt show architectural parallels. The AI detected a pattern, a tradition of megalithic construction spreading across the Roman world in the 1st century BC and the 1st century AD. Baalbek represents the absolute peak of this tradition, the largest stones anyone succeeded in moving. And then the technique vanished. After Baalbek, no later Roman constructions attempt anything close to this scale. Our Roman engineering reached its zenith here and then stepped back. Not because they lost the knowledge, but because they found the practical limit. The abandoned quarry stones proved they knew where the line was. They tried to go beyond it and failed. 800 tons was possible with extraordinary effort. 1,650 tons was impossible even for the most ambitious engineers in the empire.
As evidence, researchers point to the gigantic megalithic stones incorporated into the foundation, each weighing between 800 to 1,200 tons.
Could we replicate Baalbek today? Yes, but not easily. The largest mobile cranes can lift the weight. Self-propelled modular transporters can move the stones. But modern engineers immediately point out what would be required: extensive route preparation, paved surfaces, graded terrain, temporary crane foundations, computer-controlled hydraulics with millimeter precision. The project would take months of planning and weeks of execution with dozens of specialists and millions of dollars in equipment. And we would be using 2,000 years of accumulated engineering knowledge plus advanced materials. The Romans had none of this. No hydraulics, no computer controls, no steel cables or modern materials. The fact that we need all this technology to match what they achieved with wood, rope, and bronze tools is not inspiring. It is humbling. No ground-penetrating radar survey has ever been published showing what, if anything, lies beneath the Trilithon platform. We do not know if there are voids, chambers, or earlier construction phases beneath these megalithic foundations. At sites like Giza, extensive subsurface surveys have mapped internal passages and hidden chambers. At Göbekli Tepe, our radar has revealed entire enclosures still buried. But at Baalbek, one of the most enigmatic ancient sites in the world, this fundamental survey has apparently never been conducted. The AI flagged this as a critical gap. Until we know what is beneath the Trilithon, we are missing a crucial piece of the puzzle. What if there are earlier construction phases? What if the megalithic foundation predates the Roman temple? The current archaeological evidence says no. The stratigraphy appears clear. But until ground-penetrating radar confirms it, the question remains unanswered. And that is where Baalbek leaves us, not with answers, but with an uncomfortable silence. 3 stones still suspended above the ground, perfectly fitted, daring us to explain not just how they were moved, but why a civilization pushed itself to the absolute edge of what was physically possible, and then never returned. We can measure the weight, model the forces, scan every surface down to the micron. Yet the human decision behind it, the ambition, the risk, the will to attempt the unthinkable, remains invisible. So the question isn't whether the Romans could do this. They did. The real question is far more unsettling. What kind of society decides to move the unmovable? And what happens when humanity stops making those choices?